Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. We're doing that at Jenzabar Jam 2023, Orlando, Florida.
This place is freaking awesome.
At the Gaylord Palms Resort. It is awesome here. If you can find your way around, which is not easy to do. You can get lost. You can walk miles without ever finding what you're looking for. I know, because I tried to go to the gym. Yes, I did try to go to the gym, Alvin. It did take me about 20 minutes to find the gym. And then before I went in, I had a conversation with myself if I had worked out enough trying to find the gym and then could go eat dinner, or if I still had to go in the gym. I did go in the gym.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about our guest here at Jenzabar Jam 2023. Here he is. He's Dr. Todd Kleine. He is CIO at Dominican University. Todd, what is happening?
Hey, how's it going? I really like this here. It is like a big labyrinth. You know, if you need an app to try to get around the place, that means it's a big resort.
That it is, right? They have an app that tells you where to go and how not to get lost, which I have not downloaded. So that's why I keep getting lost.
Well, I'm glad you at least went to the gym. You made up kind of for the whole group here, I guess. So.
Todd, you're building my ego up. I'm feeling very good about myself right now. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Tell us about Dominican University. Level set for us. Where are you located? What do you do? How do you do it?
Absolutely. We are what I would call your bread and butter Catholic liberal arts institution. We're about 10 miles west of downtown Chicago, so beautiful, windy city. Great place. We were founded by an order of nuns back in 1901 that believed in allowing folks to have educational opportunities when they would not have otherwise. So great place to work, wonderful mission, and we're going strong. Enrollment looks great, even in this hyper-competitive Chicago market.
I like your style, dude.
Let's start right there. Hyper-competitive Chicago market, hyper-competitive United States market for higher education. Not only, right? Who are the competitors? When we talk about competitors, it's schools, but it's also whether to go to college or not.
Correct.
Talk about that a little bit. What is Dominican doing to, I don't know, help change the narrative that a degree still has value?
Absolutely. So, we believe in giving our students access to be able to get a 4-year degree and then be able to pursue what it is they want to do with their lives. But, it's interesting. Our students are working probably 2 jobs apiece and trying to support family and do different things like that. So, we want to make sure that we get the good liberal arts institution and education out there for them, but also be realistic in terms of what we can offer. So, we are there to support them every step of the way. From 100% of our students receive financial aid, so that's great. There's always some form of scholarship, and then
what was that? I'm sorry, how much of a percent did you say?
100%.
100%.
Just want to make sure I get that right.
Yes, 100%. And then from there, we've got really robust support networks. Our Division of Student Success and Engagement is fantastic. They take a holistic approach in terms of supporting the students in the classroom and outside the classroom with all their different programs. So it's a good place.
It sounds like it, and is Chief Information Officer.
Yes.
Talk about your role. Talk about what your priorities are.
Absolutely. So it is an ever-changing role. Obviously, I came in 2021 when the world was still trying to figure out what was going on with COVID.
Yikes!
Yep. Hit the ground running right away. And what we really wanted to do first was try to address the digital divide with our students, because, we have students who are very high achieving, but unfortunately don't typically have the funds to be able to
Right.
go to college. So, first of all, we made sure folks had laptops and hotspots and all the different things that would get them along.
Nailed it.
Yeah. And then from there, then we started really streamlining all of our processes, because the students are busy and they're trying to support things. So they don't want to fill out forms. They want to do everything online, which is fine by me. So we did that. And then we really took a focus in on our faculty and staff to make sure that they had the training they need, from software to, you name it, the devices, to be able to pull off what we need to support the students. And the good news is our retention is high. Our numbers keep climbing. So we're in a good place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not typical of
No.
all institutions to hear, for all the conversations we host on EdUp, that's not what we hear. We
Right.
hear the opposite. Typically, enrollment's been tough. We need to focus on it. We're in decline. We're budget deficit. But maybe we're coming back, or maybe we're flatlining.
Yeah.
The word grow doesn't come up as much,
Correct.
except aspirationally.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to grow.
Yeah.
It's harder to do so. How do you help enrollment management? And are your eyes on enrollment?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So I am in a unique place because not only did I start my career in student affairs, but my most recent job prior to being CIO was in enrollment management. So yes, it's an interesting ride. Let me tell you, you got to sit at that table when it's crunch time for deposits. But so I'm constantly working with that team, both marketing and enrollment, to make sure that they have the top of the line systems they need, that everything is integrated in a way to get them data quickly to be able to make decisions. And then, just trying to make sure that that relationship is supported. I'm constantly meeting with our VP of enrollment, who I coincidentally used to report to, but it's very helpful to have a friend in IT, because we can make sure that everything is moving along behind the scenes the way it's supposed to, and we've been good in that space. It's a good relationship.
Talk about efficiency. You must have, and we've been talking to some other CIOs, and one of the topics that comes up a lot is balance. How do you balance the now of helping to drive efficiency, data migration, data management, security, cybersecurity, data privacy, student data, GLBA, GDPR? I don't know how many acronyms I could throw out. People are like, you don't even know what you're talking about, Joe. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The state regulations. I mean, and then, oh, by the way, grow the institution, look at your technology stack, look 10 years from now, AI. It's a lot, man.
It's a split mentality, I always say to my staff, because I have to have one eye sort of looking on the current situation, and then the other eye looking to the future to see where we go from there. So exactly. Welcome to my everyday. But so it's an interesting approach. So I take a two-pronged way of doing it. Strengthening up the core. This morning I was on a panel. Not sit-ups and stuff like that, obviously, but making sure.
Maybe some of that in the morning though to get you ready.
Could be. If you show me how to get to the gym, we'll be good. But so we've got that. I try to make sure that, like, for example, right now we are investing multi-million dollars in our infrastructure because, like a lot of small institutions, we hit some budget bumps along the way, and the switches and the access points need to be replaced. You can't go without that. So I try to focus on things like that. But now also we had received a very large grant from the federal government through a program called Connecting Minority Communities. And that has allowed us to be able to train our faculty, staff, and students on software packages such as R and Python and the Adobe suite and different things like that. So we're trying to make sure that our students are career ready when it's time to go. Just because we're a small school doesn't mean that we can't produce quality employees for the marketplace or whatever it is that they want to do afterwards. So we're trying to make sure by utilizing those grant funds that we level the playing field where other institutions that have a lot of money, can do these things easily. Now we have the ability to be able to compete in that area. So that was a huge game changer for us.
Go backwards in time, just 30 seconds and double down on what that grant is. How did it come to be, and how significant has it been for your institution?
Yeah, incredibly. So to set the stage a little bit, so we are a Hispanic serving institution. We're about 70% Latinx in our population.
Amazing.
Right. It is fantastic. It is a really cool place to work. So anyway, the sisters that founded our institution, again, wanted to make sure that we were able to provide education to folks who couldn't afford it. So we got this great opportunity in 2020 to apply for a grant through the federal government. You had to be a minority serving institution in order to be able to apply. And I took the approach in writing this with my colleagues to say, let's do sort of that dual focus. We need to have money to, for example, upgrade our classrooms into high flex environments. We need to make sure that we replace public computers and things that are just getting old. But then we also want to make sure that we're training the workforce. So those workshops that I talked about, I'm also going to be able to have a team of interns coming through that I can directly mentor with my colleagues. Yeah, it's super exciting. It's not the flashiest use of the money, I would say, but at the same time, it's the most needed for us.
There's flashy can be flash in the pan. Correct. Versus long term too. So, it's about investment. It's about investment in infrastructure, in people, those pay themselves back.
Right.
It's really important. And, we were talking earlier with another guest, not everybody enjoys working in higher education today. There's a lot of people leaving the industry, thinking about leaving the industry. We have to think about how we provide professional development as an institution, whether that's through education benefits, through its just professional development classes. There's lots of ways to do it. What's the recruiting looking like for you? I mean, it's not like IT people are easy to find. I mean, because you could go to a Fortune 500 and code, and you make lots of money in IT. Education, though, is right. People joke you're not going to become a millionaire working in higher ed, so you have to have the passion for it. How's recruiting for you? Do you find good people? Do you keep the good people?
Yeah, it's been an interesting process. Dominican was not immune to the folks that decided during the pandemic they wanted to take a different approach to their work career. So I think I've recruited about 10 people since I started as CIO. A lot of those were natural attrition. We had folks who got their degrees at the university and moved on. But to answer your question, what I've started doing is actually using a recruitment firm. That is something that not a lot of people do in our space, but I was talking to our chief financial officer and I said, why wouldn't we do it too? Right. So I partnered with a wonderful organization, and we've been able to place 5 individuals through that. They're fantastic. They have a broad array of backgrounds. But I think the thing that really gets them to Dominican is the story. I always say, there's nothing wrong with producing widgets, but we produce students, we produce these outcomes. So I said, look at your help desk students. In 4 years, they're going to launch off into the career path, and you can see them grow up. You can help them through that process, and then connecting them to our mission about serving students who otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to go to school. And that usually seals the deal. It's the last meeting they have is with me, and I really try to drive that home. So
I love it. Talk about leadership for me for a second. What does it take to be an effective CIO? What are the key skills that you find yourself using, maybe that you didn't think you'd have to use?
Yeah, at first I almost sort of talked myself out of it when I was offered the interim role, because I have a business background. So I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. You want me to be the tech guy?
Yikes!
Yeah, right. Tell me about it. How many times I said that in the first year? But once I got in, I realized that, you have to know how to do something in the technology space. I came up through Jenzabar and the systems and stuff like that. My job is a lot of going around and talking to people. I mentioned in the plenary this morning that, I have regular meetings with our faculty senate president because I need to know what the pulse is of that. From there, I meet with the student newspaper regularly. I'm not afraid to have discussions about, okay, either, we drop the ball on that, or we don't have the funding for that, or we're working on that. I try to be as transparent and open with folks as possible. I do a lot of hyping people up, a lot of meeting and talking through difficulties. And, so really that background has helped me to be able to do that. It's different than what I thought it was. And I think a lot of that is because of where we went in the world.
Wow.
One of the other CIOs talked about politicizing a little bit. You've got to be a good politician. You've got to be a good collaborator. You've got to be able to sell the story of IT, of technology. Typically, you don't tell a story in technology. It's, we need more technology. Here it is. But you've got to paint the picture of how technology is going to facilitate growth. Now, why do I need a new system? What is it going to do for me? Are you going to change my life for the better or for the worse? Right? Change.
The dreaded upgrade.
Don't change me.
Can I have that for my phone? I need that. That's great.
Somebody says, I'm not using this. You're right. You get all of these detractors. You get all of these early adopters. You have to bring people all to the middle to move each other along, because I think that's important. Talk about change management, right? Because you guys have been using Jenzabar. How do you bring somebody on? How do you get them to adopt? Because maybe they came from another system.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. I think first and foremost, it comes with having that relationship. So, I'm fortunate enough to be on the president's cabinet. So I meet with the various members of cabinet one-on-one once a month for us to talk through what is going on in your area. So I at least know what the trends are. From there, basically,
that's smart, because, right. I mean, do they, the cabinet members enjoy that? They're like, okay, I want this one-on-one, or are you going, I don't care if you want to meet with me or not. Maybe you're saying that in your head, but I need to meet with you. You have to make time.
Yeah, I more or less force my way onto their calendars, but no, they're
Excellent.
it's all a part of the big
Here
plan.
he comes.
You really should have played the Price is Right thing. But anyway, so so I meet with them once a month to talk through what's going on. And then what I always have in the back of my head, I feel like a salesperson, because I know what systems we have or what are things that maybe perhaps we're missing. And then we start talking through, do you have a business case here? I usually say, how can it work for you to make, I always say, how does it make your life easier?
It's fuzzy math.
A little bit. Yeah,
Got to get
sometimes
that
it
business
is.
case.
Yeah, sometimes it is. You got to make a good argument with this stuff. But anyway, so yeah, we really talk through, and I really try to drive in things that are going to make your life easier. What are going to make your folks happier? If I focus on, well, this may involve a 6-month implementation of something, that gets them in a place I don't want them. So we start talking through realistically, is it the right timing to do something?
Is there ever a right time? Because I hear that a lot too. Like, well, let's wait until after the fall, or let's wait. We're too far into the spring. Actually, you know what? We have online classes starting all the time. Right? There's never a good time.
No, I will tell you, it's getting harder. In 17 years, that window is closing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, but it's paying it. Here's the thing. It's knowing the pulse of, you don't implement a new document management system for financial aid when they're awarding.
You're right.
You wait for the end of the cycle. So you have to intuitively know when the ebbs and flows are on campus to be able to have that figured out. What I worry with IT folks is that if you're hyper focused on keeping the servers up or running your queries all the time, and you don't pay attention to what's going on campus, participate in activities with the students, or maybe go to a couple events or something, you lose a sense of what the natural ebb and flow is. So you really have to double down on that. So I really try to keep my eyes on what's going on campus.
Technology has a way of overwhelming us these days with everything coming. There are so many systems as a CIO you could bring in. Right. There are so many technologies you could add, so much so that you might change your mind from yesterday to today. How do you decide what you're going to bring into your institution? And how important is the infrastructure you already have of technology partners to help advise you? Yeah,
it's sort of, what is it, union, intersection? We're back at math for a second here, but it's sort of like trying to find the sweet spot between what makes sense for us from a financial perspective, because we're not made of money. The second one being what's really trending in the marketplace right now. And I say that with an asterisk, because I don't, it's nice for startups and different things, but I also don't want a flash in the pan that's going to be gone in a couple minutes. So try to find what other our peers or what they're using and stuff like that. And then also too, what's going to work. Last thing I want to do, and I say this to my team in IT, we are not going to force something down onto somebody. That's the last thing I want to do, and have them point to us and say, well, IT put it in.
Yeah, I couldn't do my job because IT stuck this
They
in.
screwed everything up for us. If we make a decision to go forth with a product, and we have a couple times since I've been involved with it, I want to say we made this decision together. And then that's important to me.
IT is one of the technology departments, or one of those thankless departments, right?
Right.
That call that somebody makes and they go, you know what, Todd, my computer is working so well today. I just want to call and say thank you. Right. That doesn't happen very often.
That sounds so lovely.
Yeah. Todd, I got to tell you, man, I turned on my computer and it just loaded up. Right. It just magically loaded up. Right. That doesn't happen.
No.
What you get is, Todd, my computer's not working. I clicked it, or you know what, this technology isn't working, or that. You're right. So there's always this very reactive approach to being in technology. How do you stay proactive?
It's a great question. So, I'll be completely honest, and I think even our president would say this, we were a very reactive campus up until probably the pandemic. From there, I always look at a lot of things. My colleagues will say he's the king of policies on things, because yes, right. I'm wearing it now. You don't see the crown, but from there, I always make sure that we're transparent internally with folks. So you're getting a new device every X couple of years. We're pushing towards all laptops, so folks are mobile and being able to move around. I try to keep them involved in replacement cycles and different things, so we don't lose track of what's happening with that. But then every time a contract comes up for renewal, if it's a software or a service or something like that, we do the examination. Do we really need this? Is this giving us a return on investment, even though we maybe not be able to quantify it? But those are all important buzzwords I learned in business school. That
Bullseye.
really, absolutely right. God, I need that board. But anyway, so there's that. But and I do tell my folks, I said it's not always, you're not always going to get the warm fuzzy feelings, but you need to celebrate it. I said during my presentation yesterday, I had a very worried person that I had basically getting her to use a scanner for her stuff, and she hated it at first, and then she came to me a couple weeks later and she's like, "Oh, Todd, I love it.
I can scan documents."
Oh my God, do you have something like scanning noise or something? But
Yeah,
anyway,
probably.
So she that was worth it for me. So I always say celebrate the moments when we actually get the kudos.
Yeah. On behalf of all the employees at Dominican University, I'd like to thank you, Todd, and your IT department for making all of the items of technology work on a daily basis.
You're kind. You're very kind.
What else do you want to say? Last word goes to you, Dominican University. What else do you want to say? Anything you want to say at all we should know?
I think, and I talked about this morning, one of the big things we have really doubled down on is making sure that our students are seen and that they're heard. So we've invested heavily internally in terms of cleaning up our data with, lived first names, pronouns. One of the things we're doing right now are accents and diacritics. This was a big one. We found that our data entry people didn't know how to put in accents and tildes and different things on names. So we did A, the training, and then B, provided the opportunity for faculty, staff, and students to be able to make those corrections. So when you log in, your name displays correctly.
Right. That's important. Gotta see your name.
To me, these are no-brainers.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, name pronunciation software, we've installed that in our LMS so the faculty know how to say the name right. So I think we are constantly partnering with our diversity, equity, and inclusion vice president to say, okay, what are we missing now? Or what do we need to do to make sure that our students feel safe and welcome on our campus? So we've made great strides there. I'm really proud of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, your guest today, here he is. He's Dr. Todd Kleine. He is CIO at Dominican University. Todd, did you enjoy your time on the podcast today?
This was wonderful. Thank you for having me. Very enjoyable.
Thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.